What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of our King-related podcast, wherever you may be, and this emergency podcast episode where just a few minutes ago it came out that Keegan Murray is expected to be out at least a month with a torn UCL ligament in his left thumb that he suffered in that preseason game on Friday night up in Portland against the Blazers, and he will be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks. But first, before we get into how this could impact the Sacramento Kings as they get ready to start the regular season in about a week or so, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. We're also available wherever else you get your podcast on audio form, Apple, Spotify, all those different platforms. We are available there as well. But with Keegan Murray, this just is absolutely brutal news, not just for the Sacramento Kings, but also for Keegan Murray, who has grown into an important two-way contributor for the Kings, a guy who can knock down shots, defend wings, rebound, and provide spacing for Sacramento. And losing him means the Kings lose a rotational piece who contributes in several ways: offense, defense, floor spacing. And even though a thumb injury might seem minor in some context, for a shooter and a big wing like Keegan Murray, it can disrupt the touch, the shooting, the rhythm, and his confidence. And with the lineup and the rotation disruptions now with Keegan out, Keegan Murray likely he was going to be in that starting lineup for opening night on the 22nd, I believe it is, and playing high minutes in Doug Christie's rotation. And without him, the Sacramento Kings, Doug Christie, and this staff will now need to shuffle those lineups, and we'll get into some different scenarios here a little bit on in this emergency episode. But that could lead to mismatches, defensive adjustment, or Kings players being asked to do roles they aren't fully built for. And that's why this injury is so brutal for the Sacramento Kings. And that means other guys on this team, they need to pick up those minutes, because the Kings, they lacked front court depth before, and now you lose Keegan Murray, you're even more hamstrung with no Keegan Murray for at least a month. And this could stretch that Kings bench thinner than what it already was, especially in back-to-back games or against tougher opponents. If you look at the first 20 games or so of this upcoming season, the Kings' schedule is absolutely brutal, where you got Oklahoma City 3 times coming up, the Nuggets, you're facing them 3 times, the Timberwolves are facing them 3 times as well. And also, if you look at Keegan Murray, who was eligible for a rookie scale extension come October 20th was the deadline, and if they didn't come to terms on an extension, he would have become a restricted free agent after this season. So this injury could slightly weaken Keegan's negotiate leverage, or at least delay some decisions, though Scott Perry and this front office, they view Keegan Murray as a key piece for this team long, and losing a building block player this early like Keegan, the morale consequences for this team. Like, this team may be more cautious early, trying to avoid the overuse or further injuries to other key players like Zach LaVine, DeRozan, or some of the older guys on this Kings team, because this Sacramento team, they're already one of the oldest teams in the NBA before we even get to the regular season. So it's just a tough blow for both Sacramento and Keegan Murray, losing him for at least a month. They'll be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks after the surgery on that UCL torn ligament. But now, how can the Kings look to replace or cover the absence of Keegan Murray while he's out? You can promote from within. You got Dario Saric, you got Doug McDermott, who are possible options. Neither are great. You can use a younger or French players like Nick Clifford in the preseason, in these final 2 preseason games, to start at forward in his place. I would actually like to see that, how Clifford works with this starting lineup. I would love to see, like, how does Nick Clifford work with Sabonis, DeRozan, Levine, and even Schroeder? I would love to see that. And if needed, you can slide guards or the wing players on this team and do small ball forward slots for mismatches, like more guard heavy lineups, or you can increase the minutes of other forwards slightly, overextending them early in an 82 game season, or rotate more frequently to keep the older players on this team's legs more fresher here early in the season. Some of the lineup flexibility that Doug Christie could go with is he could emphasize more small ball or switch heavy lineups, which would reduce the reliance on a traditional forward. Because there's always talk about those positionless lineups, where you can increase the pick and roll usage with existing guards and forwards, so the spacing on the floor is maintained even if Keegan Murray isn't there to space the floor, or you can focus more on ball movement, extra assists, and defensive schemes to compensate for the loss of one of Sacramento's more versatile defenders on this team. I think that's where the Kings will miss Keegan the most, is on the defensive end of the floor, what he can do for them on that side of the floor, because the Kings really don't have a lot of versatile. I think he's one of the only versatile defenders on this team. If you look at short-term acquisitions or signing, Sacramento, this is probably unlikely, but they could sign a free agent forward, especially on a short-term or a vet minimum deal, to provide depth at that 3 or 4 spot while he's out, while Keegan's out, or they can use their G League affiliate, the Stockton Kings, to call up a forward or a wing who's already familiar with their system that they're trying to implement, both on offense and defense. Or you can go the avenue of exploring a possible trade. Though it's early in the season, trades are tougher now. So to bring in a complementary forward, if Keegan's absence lingers or other needs on this team emerge, and the Kings have plenty of needs on this team. And once Keegan returns, they may need to reintegrate him slowly, like low minutes at first, limited catch and shoot roles to avoid any setbacks, and you monitor other players on this team, like the usage more intensely to prevent the overused injuries, given the increased burden that the players on this team will have to carry with Keegan Murray out for at least, a month into this season. So, 4 to 6 weeks is meaningful, but not catastrophic for a full season. Because if Sacramento can just tread water or overperform during Keegan's absence, the impact might be mitigated. Just tread water, hover around that 5. Like, if they can stay around that 500 mark, it may work out. But the Western Conference is absolutely stacked, and losing rotation flexibility or giving up small lineups could cost this Kings team some games they otherwise would win. Like the recovery and the timing of Keegan returning is how does the thumb injury heal in terms of the touch and the confidence will be just as important as the raw number of missed games. Like if he returns, but he struggles shooting or handling for a few weeks, the replacement burden may last longer. And that's where you have the opportunity of other players like Surridge, McDermott, Clifford, or some of your younger players a chance to prove themselves in Keegan's absence or to step up, possibly changing the rotation dynamics for the rest of this season for Doug Christie and this staff. And if you look at the long-term conviction, likely unchanged, the Sacramento Kings may seem to view Murray as a core building block. So this is more of a delay to his season than a reset. So let's look at some different scenarios for injuries. If we look at the roster as it stands, with Keegan Murray, the Kings' offensive rating is 117.2. The defensive rating with Keegan, 114.3, a plus 2.9 net rating, and the win rate versus 500 schedule is 55. If you look at the scenario 1, a balanced replacement plan, the starters could be Dennis, Zach, DeRozan, Surridge, and Sabonis. And your bench could be Monk, Keon Ellis, McDermott, Eubanks, maybe Devin Carter, Nick Clifford for spot minutes. The impact of that rotation could be Surridge and McDermott could provide the spacing because with both of those two guys, they'll combine 39% from deep, keeping that floor balanced close to Keegan Murray's impact, slightly a slower pace with those two guys. The defense, drop coverage, and rotations weaken without Keegan Murray length on that floor. And the chemistry could be high because the veterans like Zach, DeMar, Domas, they would know their roles. And the projected offensive defensive ratings, the offensive rating could be 115.8. The defense rating projected with that lineup could be 115.7. And if you look at 4 weeks, and that's about 12 games, you go 6-6. If you go 6 weeks, that's about 18 games, 9-9. If you survive at 500, stable but uninspiring stretch, Keegan Murray's absence is manageable with that first scenario. If you want to look at a scenario 2 without Keegan Murray, you can go the veteran heavy plan. You can go Trudeau, Levine, DeRozan, maybe Nick Clifford in that forward spot, and then Sabonis. And then you can have off the bench, you can have Monk, Eubanks, Surridge, McDermott. And with the offense there, DeRozan and Levine carry a heavier shot load, and that's nice. But you don't want them carrying the load for 4 to 6 weeks with Keegan out. The defense could be a mess, but the chemistry there could be a slower pace, physical lineups that could fit Doug Christie's defense first ethos. So you can go, and with that plan, you can go 4 weeks, maybe 7-5, 6 weeks, maybe 11-7. And the outcome there is you could be slightly better record-wise thanks to a veteran stability and maybe defensive identity. You will highlight plays, but the playoff style physicality could be there. But if you want to go a youth heavy plan, which I would do, again, this is what I would do with Keegan out. My starting lineup would be Dennis Schroeder, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Nick Clifford, Domantas Sabonis. And then you can do a bench of Malik Monk, Devin Carter maybe, Isaac Jones, maybe Drew Eubanks, or Maxime Renault. The offense there could be unpredictable. And then you got Clifford who can stretch the floor, but is inconsistent because he's a rookie. You can have defense, active hands, the energy boost, better transition D, but frequent rookie mistakes with a couple of rookies in there. And the chemistry could be valuable with Clifford in that starting lineup with the starter, with your main four guys in that starting lineup. Potential for big nights and maybe bad nights as well. 4 weeks, you can look at 5-7 as a record. 6 weeks, you can look at 8-10. The summary there is you got a more volatile potential development upside, but less reliability short-term success for the Kings. But losing Keegan Murray is a huge loss for this team. Brutal, not just for the Kings as a whole, but for him as an individual, knowing that he's in line for a rookie scale contract extension. If we look at Keegan Murray's return, you can expect a ramp-up period of 3 to 5 games to regain the shooting rhythm. The offense could improve roughly +2 per 100 possessions, restoring the spacing for Sabonis and LaVine. And if the Sacramento Kings could hover near that 500 mark during the absence of Keegan, they could remain comfortably in the Western Conference, even though it's brutal, unlikely, given the start of their schedule. But if you just hover around that 500, you can give yourself an opportunity to stay in the West even without Keegan Murray out for the start of this season. So Keegan Murray out at least a month with a torn UCL ligament in his left thumb, requires surgery. He'll be reevaluated in 4 to 6 weeks. What do you think about this injury news for Keegan Murray, and how should the Sacramento Kings go about replacing him in the starting lineup to start the season? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for tuning in to this emergency episode of our Kings related podcast. Don't forget, hit that thumbs up, smash that subscribe button, and we'll catch you next time on another edition of our Kings related podcast. And as always, take care and go Kings.